TJ Watt rumors continue to fly, and I have a trade proposal to read for you guys. Plus, we talk about whether Derek Young has a future on the Seahawks, and we talk about where I believe the Seahawks stand in the running back room in 2025 across the entire NFL. All that and more right here today on Seahawks Now. But of course, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe down below to the channel. It really helps us out. And now let's begin. Guys, TJ Watt, as you know, has been a guy that I think the Seahawks would absolutely benefit from trading for. The Steelers, of course, they continue to say that they're not going to trade him, but I have a proposed blockbuster trade to read for you guys that would send the disgruntled All-Pro to the Seahawks. As the rumors continue to swirl, the Seahawks continue to look like a possible landing spot, writes Zach Roberts for Seattle Seahawks on SI. Mike McDonald has never needed a true pass rush superstar to get pressure, but the addition of a Defensive Player of the Year candidate up front would change the Seahawks defense. While the Steelers maintain that they're not trading Watt, he maintains he's not happy with the contract situation. As things continue to spiral, USA Today insider Justin Mello pondered whether or not a Watt trade could happen. He thinks it might be, but with some potential issues. Here's what he writes. He says, quote, "Despite the depth, there are question marks about the future makeup of this group. Lawrence is an aging asset, DeMarcus Lawrence. Boye Mafe isn't guaranteed to be here in 2026. And the often injured Uchenna Nwosu is also entering a contract year. Schneider should always be aware of opportunities to improve his roster when such questions are lingering. Trading for the 30-year-old Watt would ultimately signal the type of all-in move the Seahawks may not be ready to make." That's an interesting way to phrase it. He says it's an all-in move that the Seahawks might not be ready to make. Why aren't they ready to make it? I mean, that's what I would say. First off, why would they not be ready to make it? You've been stuck as kind of a mediocre team for the past decade, really. I mean, from 2015 till 2025. We've been one of the most average teams in the league. We always seem to win 9, 10 games. Maybe we make the wild card. Maybe we missed the playoffs by a game or two. But we've never really been able to take that next step. And the idea that trading for TJ Watt, yeah, I agree. It's an all-in move. If you trade for TJ Watt, that is a symbol that you are going in on the season. Why would we not be ready to make that move? It just, to me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense why we would have this potential superstar who could come to Seattle, but yet we're not ready to make that sort of move. That's the move that championship contenders make, right? That's the move that winning teams make. That's a move that you make if you are actually serious about winning. You make that move in a heartbeat. And so when I hear him say the Seahawks might not be ready to make that move, it just makes me a little bit frustrated because they should be, right? This is a team that should be able to win right now. This is a team that has all the pieces in place. They have a quarterback that they like in Sam Darnold. They have a good running back in Kenneth Walker, who we're going to get to in a little bit. Good receivers. They just signed Cooper Kupp. They signed DeMarcus Lawrence. They're spending money. And yet, they might not be ready to make it this big move. And I agree. I mean, I do think that Schneider has shown restraint when it comes to making big moves. He hasn't been the type of player to do that necessarily. He hasn't been the type of general manager who goes out and makes blockbuster moves. Although he did trade Russell Wilson and Geno Smith. Normally, he's the one giving away the good player, not the one bringing in the good player. So I would just say, from my perspective, now is the time. If there's ever been a time, it's now. And you can't keep waiting for the opportune moment, or else the opportune moment's going to pass you by. You have to seize the opportunity as it comes. When TJ Watt's available for trade, you have to seize the opportunity. You can't wait, because he's not going to be available in 2 years when the time is right. The time is right now. That's what I say. So I say Seahawks live in the moment, make this trade happen, go out and get him. He doesn't offer an actual proposal. I would say probably it would take a second-round pick to get TJ Watt. He only has 1 year left on the contract, and he is very expensive. That's why I think it would be a second-round pick. But you'd be paying him a second-round pick to the Steelers to get him. Then you'd have to obviously extend him and pay him. And I think you can afford to do that. I mean, we were apparently willing to do it to Max Crosby if the Raiders were willing to trade him. I think you're willing to pay TJ Watt as well. All right, let's move on. The Seahawks predicted to part ways with wide receiver Derek Young. This one is a bit of a more low-key story, not something that I've been hearing a lot about, but the 26-year-old receiver's been with the team since 2022 when he was a 7th-round pick. According to Heavy on NFL, this could be the final year on the roster for him. They believe that he probably doesn't make the cut, and I guess reporter Bob Condotta agrees. Bob Condotta of the Seattle Times and Spokesman Review, he believes that there will be 6 wide receivers on the depth chart. He thinks it will be Cooper Kupp, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Torrey Horton, Jake Bobo, and Steven Sims. So he does think that Cody White is on the outside looking in, as well as Derek Young. Yeah, he writes, quote, Derek Young, a 2022 7th-round pick who has been on the active roster the last 3 seasons, will be in a fight to stay on the roster this time around. Mostly he's been a special teams guy. He's played 541 total snaps on special teams. He's only played 145 snaps on offense. Last year, he did not catch a single pass. He only got 1 pass target going his way. In his rookie season, he caught 2 passes for 24 yards. So, yeah, he really has not done a whole lot as a receiver. He's been basically just a special times guy. Cody White also probably is on the outside looking in. Last year, he did make 2 receptions for 44 yards, and he did block a punt. He appeared in 49% of special team snaps with the Steelers. But I just don't necessarily think that either of these guys have a long-term future in Seattle. And with Torrey Horton coming in, we want to see what we can get out of that kid. We want to see what we can get out of Steven Sims. We did bring in Marquez Valdes-Scantling to be kind of that number 3 guy. So I do think that probably Derek Young is on the outside looking in right now, and probably so is Cody White, which is, maybe unfortunate for those guys, but it's the nature of the NFL, right? Guys move on, and unfortunately for Derek Young, I'm not sure if he makes the roster this time around. Let's move on to my final topic for today. Where does the Seahawks running back room rank in 2025? So yesterday we did quarterbacks, and today we're going to do running backs, and I might go through position by position, actually, and just kind of give you guys my rankings for where I think the Seahawks fall in the running back core. So obviously the Seahawks running back core right now, they have Kenneth Walker III, they have Zach Charbonnet, they have Julian Arroyo, and then they also have Kenny McIntosh back there as well. So it's kind of a 4 men in this backfield. I think it will be interesting. I think this is a fine running back team. I think Zach Charbonnet has the most potential. I really do. Watching him run last year, I honestly wondered why he wasn't the starter. Personally, I think, I don't know, can he handle that workload? We'll have to see, because I think he'll probably have to, because I don't think they're, like I said, I don't personally think that they will re-sign Kenneth Walker III. So I do think eventually we will see Charbonnet as the starter. But let's look at how he did last year as the backup. In 17 games, he averaged, what did he average? He averaged 33 yards per game. He went for 569 total yards, but he ran for 8 touchdowns, and that was the big deal. 8 touchdowns on the ground. He also caught 1 touchdown, and he caught 340 receiving yards. So as far as yards per scrimmage, he actually went almost 1,000 total yards when you combine the rushing and receiving, and ended up with 1 receiving touchdown as well. So yeah, I think he had a nice season last year. I think he can definitely grow. Can he hold a workload of a starting running back? That is what I'm not sure about. But let's check out Kenneth Walker's numbers. He is going to be the starter again. Last year, he went for 573 yards, so just 4 more yards than Charbonnet did, despite playing in only 11 games, but he started all 11 of those games. He went for an average of 52 yards per game when he was healthy. He also caught 299 receiving yards. He scored 7 rushing touchdowns and 1 receiving touchdown. So again, both of these guys had solid seasons, but again, we haven't seen K9 reach the heights that he did as a rookie, right? In his rookie season, Walker was a 1,000-yard rusher who scored 9 touchdowns. He's gone below that the past 2 seasons. He went down to 900 yards in 23 and then only 573 in 24, and his yards per game has dropped in all 3 seasons. He was 70 yards per game as a rookie, 60 yards per game in his second season. Last year, only 52 yards per game. So not only is he getting hurt more often, even when he's healthy, he's not getting as many yards per game. That is probably a bad sign. Then we look at Kenny McIntosh. He's kind of your third string guy. Kenny McIntosh last year didn't do a whole lot. He did play in all 17 games. Went for 172 rushing yards, averaged about 10 yards per game, no touchdowns, and he caught 22 yards of receiving. And finally, the Seahawks, they did also draft a running back It was the 7th rounder out of Miami, and I'm not really necessarily sure how he's going to do. I think some people think he can be good. Some people, I mean, look, for a 7th round pick, it's hard to really know. That's Damian Martinez, obviously coming out of Miami. He was picked at number 223. So hard to say if he's actually going to be able to do anything. He was decent in college. He actually was fairly productive for Miami, which was a good team, by the way, a good offense. But again, it's hard to know for the 223rd pick. Is he going to be able to contribute at all? I don't know. I hope he does. Last year, he went for 1,002 yards, 10 touchdowns on the ground for Miami, and also 204 receiving yards. I think there's a chance that Martinez probably ends up as your number 3 running back when it's all said and done, behind Charbonnet and Walker. But ultimately, where do they rank? Between the whole NFL, I think as a starter, Kenneth Walker, when he's healthy, is probably around the top 10. But because he wasn't super healthy last year, I think I'd put him around maybe the 15th or so best running back in the NFL. But as a backup, I do actually really like Charbonnet. Like I said, I'm not sure if I could see Charbonnet being the number 1 back. But as your 3rd down guy, as your number 2 guy, I think he's one of the best in the league. I would probably put him around the 10th or so best backup running back in the NFL. And then between Martinez and McIntosh, I honestly don't think they play much of a factor in this running back room. Like I said, I mean, Martinez was a 7th round pick. McIntosh went for 100 yards last year. I just don't think either of those guys are going to make a huge impact. So really it comes down to Walker and Charbonnet, and I think when it's all said and done, I think this is a solid running back room. Honestly, I would say it's a good running back room, but I'm not going to call it elite. I think it's probably around the 10th or 12th best running back room in the league when it's all said and done. It's not a running back room that's going to go for 2,000 combined rushing yards. It's not the type of running back room that's going to be able to get a ton of receiving yards either. But it is a running back room that they can combine for around 1,300 or 1,400 yards, average about 100 rushing yards per game, maybe a little bit less than that. But if they can do that, if they can average 100 rushing yards per game, then that makes this a good running back room. And I do think that they can be that if they can stay healthy. With that all being said, that's going to wrap things up for today's video. As always, if you like what you see, hit the like button down below, subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more future content, and hit the bell for notifications so you never miss a breaking news alert. With that all being said, I'll see you tomorrow, and as always, go Seahawks.